Good morning and welcome back to another educational episode with me, Anthony McKinney. I will be talking today about contracts. One thing that we're going to learn today about contracts is there are 5 essential elements that create a valid contract. Your first element, you have offer and acceptance. Is someone that's a part of the contract that's offering something to someone else that someone else has to then accept it. That's your first step of having a valid contract. The next step is consideration. Everybody has to have some type of consideration. Say you put a down payment on an apartment for rent or lease. That down payment is your consideration, as is the monthly payments on that. That's your consideration. The next element for a valid contract is, drum roll, legal purpose. So it has to have a valid legal purpose to be a valid, legally enforceable contract. You cannot say, "Ooh, I'm gonna hire somebody to kill somebody." That's not a legal purpose. That's an illegal purpose. So that wouldn't have a valid contract. But if you're saying, "Hey, I want a contract to sell my home," that's a valid contract because it has a legal purpose. The next thing under contracts, as far as essential elements to make it valid, you have consent. So you have to have pure mutual consent. You can't force anybody in duress. You can't, any type of pressure could deem your contract invalid. Next, you have legally competent parties. So you have to make sure that your party is of sound mind and body. If they can prove that they are not of sound mind and body, then you may have an invalid contract. This is mainly to protect your, people with special needs and older people with like autistic issues or just dementia issues. That really protects them from the evil people in the world that would take advantage of them. So you have to have legally competent parties in order to create a valid contract. And let's see how we got offer and acceptance, consideration. Yep, boom. And those are your elements to create a legal contract, legally valid contract. Now, after you've covered that, most people think they're done, and they're not. You have to make sure you cover all the bases on your contract. So contracts can be considered in like 3 or 4 different categories. 4 different categories. So you have your valid contract. Your valid contract has all of the essential elements that are needed to create a valid contract. So it has the offer consideration, offer and acceptance consideration, legally competent parties, legal purpose, and consent. It has all that. All right. A void contract. A void contract is missing one of those 5 essential elements to creating a valid contract. And it's no way around it. It's not, maybe we can work with it. It's completely void in the eyes of the courts. Next, you have a voidable contract. So maybe everything looks great on the surface. You had the offer and acceptance. You had, consideration. You had consent. You had legal purpose. And it looks like on the surface that you had a legally competent party. But what if your party was drunk? That makes your contract voidable. That makes your contract voidable. The next one you have is unenforceable, which says it seems to have all of the valid essential elements for a contract, but at the end of the day, you cannot take it into court and fight legally with this contract. That normally comes into play when you have an example of someone who doesn't have a contract in writing. So more than most states are going to deem it to where if you want to be able to enforce a contract, you need to have it in writing, especially if it's 6 months or longer. Or a year, 12 months or longer, especially if it's 12 months or longer. Sorry, not 6 months, but 12 months. So yeah, that's how a contract could be unenforceable. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you learned something. Stay educated out there. Stay safe, and we will get through this separately together. whatever that is. Have a great day.